The sound of my daughter's voice carried through the walls, sharp and venomous. She was on the phone with someone, probably her mother-in-law, and every word felt like a knife. I don't know how much longer I can deal with this. She's everywhere, Mom. I can't even breathe in my own house without her hovering. We need to do something about her soon. I stood frozen in the upstairs hallway, my hand still on the laundry basket. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd misheard. Maybe she was talking about someone else. But then Marcus's voice joined in, lower but just as clear. The Shady Pines facility has an opening next month. It's not fancy, but it's cheap. We can use the savings to finally renovate the kitchen. They were talking about me. Eleanor Walsh, the woman who'd raised Catherine alone after her father died when she was 7. The woman who'd worked double shifts as a nurse to put her through college. The woman who'd been living in their house for 2 years, contributing every penny of my Social Security check while they treated me like hired help. That was my breaking point. Not the screaming matches. Not the way Marcus would slam doors when I asked simple questions. Not even the time Catherine told me I was lucky they hadn't put me in a home yet. It was hearing them plot my disposal like I was an unwanted piece of furniture. But let me go back. Let me tell you how a mother ends up eavesdropping in the hallway of her daughter's house, planning her own survival. I moved in with Catherine and Marcus 2 years ago. It seemed like the logical choice at the time. My husband Robert had been gone for 5 years, and I was getting older. The house I'd lived in for 30 years felt too big, too quiet. When Catherine suggested I move in with them in Portland, it felt like a blessing. Family taking care of family. That's how it's supposed to work. The first month was fine. They had a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, plenty of space. I took the guest room on the 2nd floor. I helped with cooking, cleaning, tried to make myself useful without being intrusive. But somewhere around week 6, things shifted. It started small. Catherine would make comments. "Mom, could you not use so much hot water? The bills are getting expensive." Or, "Mom, do you really need the TV on all day? We're trying to save electricity." I was paying them $1,600 a month, my entire Social Security check. Catherine had insisted on it, just to help with the mortgage, Mom. You understand. I understood. I wanted to contribute. What I didn't understand was why I was being made to feel guilty about existing in a house I was paying to live in. By month 3, I wasn't a guest anymore. I was a burden, a problem to be managed. Marcus started avoiding me entirely. He'd come home from work and go straight to his office, barely acknowledging my presence. If I tried to make conversation, he'd give one-word answers and walk away. Catherine was worse. She'd snap at me for the smallest things, leaving a cup in the sink, sitting in her spot on the couch, talking too loud when she was trying to watch TV. "Mom, could you just be more aware?" she'd say, her voice dripping with condescension. "You're not the only person living here." No, I wasn't, but I was the only person paying the mortgage. That's the part they never mentioned to their friends. When people would visit, Catherine would play the role of devoted daughter. "Oh, Mom's living with us now. We just couldn't let her be alone at her age." She'd smile sweetly, and everyone would praise her for being so caring, so selfless. If only they knew. They didn't know that I did all the cooking. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Catherine worked from home as a marketing consultant, which meant she was always there, always demanding. "Mom, can you make me a sandwich? Mom, I'm on a call. Can you keep it down? Mom, we're having people over tonight. Can you make that casserole thing you do?" I became her personal chef, housekeeper, and emotional punching bag. Marcus worked in tech sales. His contribution to the household was minimal. He'd play video games until 2 in the morning, sleep until noon, then complain that I was too loud making breakfast. Once, he yelled at me for breathing too heavily while he was on a work call. I wish I was exaggerating. By the 1-year mark, I'd stopped sleeping well. I'd lie awake in that guest room, staring at the ceiling, wondering how my life had become this. I was 62 years old. I'd survived being widowed. I'd raised a daughter alone. I'd worked for 40 years as a nurse, helping people, saving lives. And now I was being treated like an inconvenience. The worst part was the isolation. Catherine had systematically cut me off from my friends. "Mom, do you really need to go out every week? You know I need help around here." So my Tuesday card games with the ladies from church stopped. My monthly lunch with my old nursing colleagues ended. Even phone calls became difficult because Catherine would hover, listening, making comments afterward. "Who were you talking to for so long? You know I needed the phone line for work calls." I became a ghost in that house. Present but unseen, contributing but unappreciated, existing but not living. Then came my 62nd birthday. I woke up that morning with a small flutter of hope. Maybe today would be different. Maybe Catherine would remember. Maybe she'd baked something or planned a small dinner. By noon, it was clear nothing was happening. Catherine was at her desk, typing away. Marcus was still in bed. I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table, alone. At 5 o'clock, Catherine came into the kitchen. "Mom, can you order pizza tonight? I'm too tired to cook." I stared at her. "Catherine, do you know what today is?" She looked confused for a moment, then her face changed, not to guilt or apology, to annoyance. "Oh, your birthday. Mom, I've been so busy, I completely forgot. Can we do something this weekend, maybe?" We never did anything that weekend. That night, I cried myself to sleep, not because they forgot my birthday, but because I realized they didn't care. Not really. I was useful to them. I paid bills, I cooked and cleaned, but I wasn't their mother. Not anymore. I was a resource to be used until I wasn't useful anymore. The financial situation was even worse than I'd realized. I started paying closer attention to the bills. Catherine had told me my $1,600 covered my share of the mortgage and utilities. But when I saw the mortgage statement on the counter one day, I did the math. The monthly payment was $2,200. The utilities were maybe $300, so where was my money going? I started keeping track. Every month, I handed over my check. Catherine would deposit it and then spend freely. New furniture, expensive dinners out, a weekend trip to Napa Valley. Meanwhile, I was eating ramen noodles and wearing the same 3 outfits because I had no money left for myself. When I tried to bring it up, Catherine exploded. "You're living rent-free, Mom. You should be grateful. Do you know how much it costs to have someone living here? Rent-free? Catherine, I give you everything I have. And it barely covers your expenses. The food you eat, the water you use, the space you take up. You think that's free?" I was paying them to abuse me. That's when I started to plan, quietly, carefully, because I knew if I confronted them directly, they'd find a way to make it my fault. They'd twist everything. They'd gaslight me into believing I was the problem. I started documenting everything. Every payment I made, I kept a copy. Every conversation where they belittled me, I'd write down afterward. Date, time, what was said. I felt ridiculous doing it, like some paranoid conspiracy theorist. But I needed proof, because I knew they'd deny it. Then came the day I overheard them talking about Shady Pines. I stood in that hallway, holding that laundry basket, and something inside me snapped, not in an emotional, breaking down way, but in a clear, cold, calculating way. I was done being a victim. I was done letting them treat me like garbage. I finished the laundry. I made dinner. I acted completely normal, but inside, I was already planning my exit. The next morning, after they left, I went to the bank. I opened a new account at a different bank, one they didn't know about. I had them change the deposit for my Social Security check. Starting next month, that money would go into my account, not Catherine's. Then I called my old friend Patricia, a woman I'd worked with for years at the hospital. "Patty, I need help." We met at a coffee shop that afternoon. I told her everything, the abuse, the money, the nursing home plan. She listened without interrupting, her face growing darker with each detail. "Eleanor, this is elder abuse. Financial and emotional abuse. You need a lawyer." "I know, but I don't have money for a lawyer." Patricia pulled out her phone. "My nephew, Daniel, just started practicing elder law. He takes cases pro bono sometimes, especially for situations like yours. Let me call him." 3 days later, I was sitting in Daniel Morrison's office, a small space in downtown Portland. He was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a determined set to his jaw. "Mrs. Walsh, I've looked at the documents you sent over. The bank statements, the copies of your Social Security deposits, your list of daily tasks. This is a clear case of financial exploitation and emotional abuse. Can I do anything about it? Yes, but it won't be easy. They'll fight back. They'll make you out to be the villain. Are you prepared for that? I thought about Catherine's voice on the phone. The Shady Pines facility has an opening next month. Yes, I'm ready. Daniel explained the plan. We'd gather more evidence, particularly anything showing their intent to institutionalize me against my will or profit from my situation. Then we'd file a lawsuit for financial elder abuse and seek reimbursement of funds. In Oregon, the laws were actually quite strong for protecting seniors. But Mrs. Walsh, here's the tricky part. You're living in their house. Once we make a move, they can ask you to leave immediately. Do you have somewhere to go? I didn't. But Patricia stepped in. She can stay with me. I have a spare room. I wanted to cry from gratitude. For the next 3 weeks, I played the role perfectly. Submissive, helpful Eleanor. I cooked and cleaned and stayed out of the way. But I was also watching, documenting, recording. Oregon is a one-party consent state for recording conversations. I didn't need their permission to record them. So I bought a small digital recorder and kept it in my pocket. Every snide comment, every instance of verbal abuse, captured. The evidence I gathered was devastating. Marcus calling me a useless old hag when he thought I couldn't hear. Catherine telling her friend on the phone that I was basically senile and they were doing a charity by letting me live there. Conversations about how they'd use my Social Security money once I was in the nursing home to finally renovate the master bathroom. I also discovered something worse. Catherine had been forging my signature on documents, credit card applications, a home equity line of credit. All in my name, all using my credit. But she was the one spending the money. Daniel was furious when I showed him. This is fraud, criminal fraud. Mrs. Walsh, this isn't just a civil case anymore. This is potentially criminal. Part of me wanted to back down. This was my daughter, my only child. But then I remembered. She was planning to put me in a facility and steal from me. She'd already been stealing from me. The love I had for the little girl I raised didn't erase the cruelty of the woman she'd become. We filed the lawsuit on a Monday. Daniel had it served that afternoon while Catherine was at home working. I wasn't there to see her reaction, but she called me within minutes. I was at Patricia's house, unpacking my things into the spare room. "Mom, what the hell did you just do?" Her voice was pure rage. No concern, no attempt to understand, just anger that I'd dared to challenge her. "Catherine, I'm taking legal action to recover the money you've stolen from me and to hold you accountable for elder abuse." "Stolen? Mom, you're insane! We gave you a place to live!" "And I paid you for it. Plus, you forged my signature on credit cards. That's fraud, Catherine." The line went quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different, calculated. "Mom, I think you're confused. You're getting older. Maybe you're not remembering things clearly. We should get you checked out by a doctor." The gaslighting was immediate and shameless. "I have documentation, Catherine. Bank statements, recordings, everything." "Recordings?" Her voice pitched higher. "You were recording us? In our own home? That's illegal." "Actually, in Oregon, it's not. One-party consent. I'm allowed to record conversations I'm part of." Another silence. Then Marcus's voice in the background. "Is she serious? She's actually suing us?" Catherine came back on the line. "Fine. You want to play it this way? We'll see you in court, Mother, and when we're done, everyone will know exactly what kind of person you are." She hung up. I sat on Patricia's couch, my hands shaking, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. The next day, Catherine went on the offensive. She posted on Facebook a long, emotional rant about how I'd abandoned them, how I'd filed a frivolous lawsuit because I was angry they couldn't cater to my every whim, how I was trying to destroy their marriage and steal their home. "My mother has changed," she wrote. "I don't know if it's early dementia or just bitterness, but she's not the woman who raised me. We opened our home to her, sacrificed so much, and this is how she repays us. Please keep us in your prayers as we navigate this heartbreaking situation." The post got hundreds of likes. Comments poured in. "I'm so sorry you're going through this. Aging parents can be so difficult. You're a saint for putting up with this as long as you did." People who didn't know the full story. Making judgments. It stung. But I had allies too. Patricia commented with a simple, devastating statement. Catherine, as someone who's known your mother for 25 years, I can say with absolute certainty that she is neither demented nor bitter. What she is done being abused. Other friends from my nursing days chimed in. People who knew me, who knew my character. The comments section became a battlefield. Catherine doubled down. She posted screenshots of text messages between us, carefully edited to make me look demanding and unreasonable. She posted photos of her house, highlighting the beautiful guest room she'd provided for me. She even did a video, tears streaming down her face, talking about how much it hurt to have your own mother turn against you. She was good. I'll give her that. She played the victim perfectly. For 3 days, I watched the court of public opinion crucify me. Old acquaintances unfriended me. People I'd known for years sent me messages telling me I should be ashamed. One person even suggested I was senile and needed to be placed in care for my own safety. It was brutal, isolating, exactly what Catherine wanted. Then Daniel called. "Mrs. Walsh, are you ready to tell your side?" I'd been dreading this. I'm not a social media person. I don't know how to craft the perfect post or edit videos, but I had something Catherine didn't have. The truth. I created a simple video. Me, sitting in Patricia's living room, looking directly at the camera. No tears. No drama. Just facts. My name is Eleanor Walsh. I'm 62 years old. For the past 2 years, I lived with my daughter Catherine and her husband Marcus. During that time, I paid them $1,600 every single month, my entire Social Security check. I also did all the cooking, cleaning, and housework. In return, I was verbally abused, financially exploited, and isolated from my friends and support network. I held up bank statements. These show every deposit I made into their account, nearly $40,000 over 2 years. I held up the credit card statements. These show charges in my name that I never authorized. My daughter forged my signature. Then I played a recording. Marcus's voice, clear as day. "She's so pathetic. I can't wait until we can dump her at Shady Pines and be done with this." The video was only 5 minutes long. I posted it without fanfare. No dramatic caption, just my side of the story. The response was immediate and explosive. Within an hour, it had been shared 100 times. Within a day, 5,000. Local news outlets picked it up. Local senior speaks out about alleged elder abuse. The comments on Catherine's posts changed tone dramatically. "Oh my God, I had no idea. Catherine, you need to address this. I can't believe I felt sorry for you." Catherine tried to respond, claiming the recordings were taken out of context and the credit cards were a misunderstanding. But the damage was done. Her credibility was shattered. Marcus's employer saw the video. He was put on administrative leave pending an investigation. Catherine lost 2 major clients who didn't want to be associated with someone accused of elder abuse. I felt no joy in their suffering, only a grim satisfaction that the truth was finally out. The lawsuit moved forward. Catherine and Marcus hired a lawyer, though I suspected they were struggling to pay for it. Discovery was brutal for them. We subpoenaed their bank records, showing exactly how they'd spent my money. We obtained the fraudulent credit card applications. We had mountains of evidence. Their lawyer tried to settle, offered to pay back half the money if I'd dropped the abuse claims. Daniel advised me to refuse. "Mrs. Walsh, this isn't just about money. This is about accountability. If you settle now, they'll never face consequences for what they did." He was right. This was bigger than me. The trial took place 6 months after I'd moved out. I walked into that courtroom with Patricia beside me, Daniel at the table, and a clear conscience. Catherine and Marcus looked terrible, thinner, haggard. Catherine had cut her hair short, probably trying to look more sympathetic. Marcus wore an ill-fitting suit. The trial lasted 3 days. Daniel presented our evidence methodically. Bank statements, recordings, testimony from Patricia and other friends about my isolation. An expert witness on elder abuse who explained how my situation fit the textbook definition of financial and emotional exploitation. Catherine's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive, as a bitter mother who couldn't accept that her daughter had her own life. But when they put Catherine on the stand, she crumbled under cross-examination. "Mrs. Thompson, Did you or did you not tell your friend that your mother was basically senile? That was just venting. I didn't mean. Did you or did you not forge your mother's signature on 3 credit card applications? It was an emergency. We needed. Yes or no, Mrs. Thompson? Yes. But. No further questions. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous. In my favor on all counts. The judge awarded me full reimbursement of the money I'd paid, plus damages for emotional distress, plus the fraudulent credit card debt that Catherine had to pay off. The total came to $87,000. But more importantly, Catherine and Marcus were convicted of elder financial abuse, a crime in Oregon. They were sentenced to probation, mandatory counseling, and community service. Catherine also lost her marketing license temporarily. I sat in that courtroom, listening to the verdict, and felt empty. Not happy, not vindicated, just exhausted. This was my daughter. I'd raised her, loved her, and it had come to this. After the trial, I returned to Patricia's house and slept for 14 hours straight. The first year after the lawsuit was strange. I used part of the settlement money to rent a small apartment in a senior community. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Truly mine. I reconnected with my old friends. Started going to church again. Joined a book club. Slowly, carefully, I rebuilt my life. The story had made enough noise that I was invited to speak at a local senior center about elder abuse. I was terrified at first, but something about sharing my experience felt healing. Afterward, 3 other women came up to me, crying, telling me they were going through similar situations. That's when I realized this was bigger than my personal story. I used the rest of the settlement money to start a small nonprofit, the Eleanor Walsh Foundation for Elder Rights. We provided legal resources, support groups, and advocacy for seniors experiencing abuse from family members. It started small, just me and Patricia, working out of my living room, but it grew. Local lawyers volunteered their time, counselors offered free sessions, donors started contributing. Within 2 years, we'd helped 40 seniors escape abusive situations. 40 people who thought they were trapped, who thought they deserved the treatment they were getting, who'd been told by society that family always comes first. I learned that my story wasn't unique. It was shockingly common. Adult children draining their parents' accounts, verbal and emotional abuse disguised as tough love, isolation masked as helping them adjust. And the most devastating part? The shame, the silence. So many seniors suffering alone because they're embarrassed, because they don't want to admit their own children are hurting them. I made it my mission to break that silence. 3 years after the trial, I received an unexpected letter. It was from Catherine. My hands shook as I opened it. "Mom," it began. "No, dear Mom. Just Mom. I've been in therapy for 2 years now. Court mandated at first, but I've continued on my own. I'm writing this letter not because my therapist suggested it, but because I need to say this even if you never respond. I was wrong. About everything. The way Marcus and I treated you was inexcusable. I told myself we were doing you a favor, that you should be grateful, but the truth is, we were using you, financially, emotionally, in every way. I don't know when I became that person. The therapist says it was a gradual thing, a series of small justifications that built into something monstrous, but that doesn't excuse it. You deserved better. You deserved a daughter who loved you, who respected you, who treated you with the dignity you'd earned. Instead, you got me. Marcus and I divorced last year. Turns out, when you build a relationship on using other people, it doesn't last. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. I understand what I did, and I'm sorry. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and didn't respond. Not because I was cruel, but because I wasn't ready. 6 months later, I wrote back. A short note. "Catherine, thank you for your letter. I'm glad you're getting help. I'm not ready to see you yet, but I appreciate your honesty." She didn't write back immediately. When she did, a month later, it was just, "I understand. Take all the time you need." Another year passed. The foundation kept growing. I became a minor public figure in elder advocacy circles, doing interviews, speaking at conferences. It gave my life purpose beyond just surviving. Then, on my 66th birthday, there was a knock on my door. Catherine stood there, older looking than I remembered. No makeup, simple clothes. She held a small gift box. "I know you said you weren't ready," she said quietly. "And if you want me to leave, I will. But I wanted to give you this. For your birthday." I didn't invite her in, but I took the box. Inside was a framed photo of us from when she was 7, right after Robert died. We were at the park, sitting on a bench, her head on my shoulder. On the back, she'd written, "I'm sorry I forgot who we used to be. I'm trying to remember. One have the doin' bad." I looked at her, this woman who'd caused me so much pain, who was also the little girl I'd loved more than life itself. "Would you like some tea?" I asked. We sat in my small living room, awkward and distant. We didn't talk about the trial. We didn't rehash old wounds. We just talked. About small things, the weather, her new job at a nonprofit, my foundation work. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. She didn't stay long. When she left, she paused at the door. "I know I can't fix what I broke, Mom, but if you'll let me, I'd like to try to build something new." I watched her walk away and felt something I hadn't felt in years when I thought of my daughter. Hope. We meet now, once a month, for coffee. It's still complicated. There's still hurt. But we're trying. She's trying. And that matters. Some people in my support groups ask me how I can even speak to her after what she did. My answer is always the same. I'm not doing it for her. I'm doing it for me. Because holding on to rage forever is just another kind of prison. But I also tell them this: forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean allowing abuse to continue. It means choosing freedom from bitterness while still maintaining boundaries. I will never live with Catherine again. I will never give her access to my finances. I will never put myself in a position where she has that kind of power over me. But I can have coffee with her once a month and listen to her tell me about her therapy sessions and her volunteer work with other families dealing with addiction and abuse. Because people can change. Not always. Not easily. But sometimes. My foundation continues to grow. Last month, we helped a 73-year-old man whose son had been stealing his pension for 5 years. We connected him with legal aid, helped him find housing, and supported him through the court process. He sent me a thank you card afterward. "You gave me my dignity back," he wrote. That's what this is all about. Dignity. The fundamental right to be treated with respect, especially by the people who claim to love you. I'm 66 now. My life looks nothing like I imagined it would at this age. I thought I'd be the doting grandmother, babysitting and baking cookies. Instead, I'm an advocate, a survivor, and a fighter. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Because I learned something important through all of this. It's never too late to choose yourself. It's never too late to say enough. It's never too late to reclaim your life, your dignity, your peace. Family is important. Love is important. But so is self-respect. And no amount of obligation, guilt, or social pressure is worth sacrificing that. I sleep well now. In my small apartment, with my independence intact and my boundaries firm, I have friends, I have purpose, I have peace. That's worth more than any family dinner where I'm treated like a burden. If you're listening to this and you're going through something similar, please know you're not alone. You're not crazy, you're not being too sensitive, and you're not a bad parent for protecting yourself. You deserve better. And it's never, ever too late to start demanding it.